Welcome again. Continuing on with this project, A Personal Journey from Science to Faith, I'm now going to take you through the preamble of the project. Here is an opening quote. Epistemology is the only question. That's a personal musing of mine. I realize it's not exactly grammatical, but that's the point, is to invite discussion and exploration about the centrality of epistemology to our experience as human beings. Before we jump into the deep end of the science and faith pool to explain epistemology, reflect with me for a moment on the importance of being aware of what I know. In this regard, consider the following unrelated questions. Am I missing something crucial if I ignore the diffusing essential oils craze? What are the best retirement planning strategies for a mid-career professional? Should I keep my primary vehicle in my own name or let my business own it? How many servings of protein do I need every day? Do pets or houseplants offer the most health benefits? Does planting a garden really save on grocery bills? Is the extra cost of private school for my kids worth it? Is a non-toxic herbicide for controlling weeds in my yard available? Is there a God? Have you? Could you? Would you answer these questions? If so, how? If not, why not? Okay. So most of us don't spend a lot of time investigating the best answers to such questions. We probably spend even less time wondering about the origin or meaning of life, much less the origin of our universe. In fact, the everyday challenges inherent in most of our schedules squeeze out any impulse to contemplate what may lie beyond reality, what may lie beyond death, whether there's a God, or which of the hundreds of world's religions may best reflect reality, or indeed what reality might consist of. And we certainly rarely take the next step to ponder whether science or faith offers better answers to these ultimate questions. Just getting to work on time after dropping the kids off to school, and remembering to pack them a lunch, and coordinating shopping for one of their impending birthday parties during lunch hour, and sending our aging mother-in-law a get-well card following her nasty fall, and deciding what to contribute to our neighbor's backyard barbecue next weekend, and finalizing semi-annual dental appointments for the family, and. Not to mention the current pandemic. Life's challenges can literally overwhelm us. Not much time to reflect or meditate. Yet, if given a few moments' pause, we easily recognize that almost any observation or statement about reality, truth, our own or others' feelings, memories, or experience can either be accepted as fact or critically examined to ascertain its validity. To summarize briefly, this book seeks to provide an extended exploration of its opening claim: epistemology is the only question. What we know and how we know what we know determine whatever else we may understand about our lives, our experiences, and their ultimate contexts. Participants in the various debates we will encounter, such as biblical faith versus atheistic secularism, may define pertinent terms like belief, evidence, faith, freedom, information, knowledge, logic, modernism, objective, postmodern or postmodernism, relativism, science, subjective, trust, truth, wisdom, many other related terms. People may define those differently. Various epistemological vantage points certainly would define those terms differently. However, this book accepts that what we know, how we know it, and how or whether this knowledge corresponds to reality constitute the primary issues to solve when considering questions about faith, reason, and science. In this regard, the creation versus evolution tussle ultimately revolves on issues of epistemology. Likewise, for the objective versus subjective tension, the modernism versus postmodernism divide, the science versus faith schism, and the reason versus belief dichotomy, all of these and many similar conflicts rest on epistemology. The various interpretive approaches employed by each of these opposing sides embrace a particular version or vision of epistemology. Thus, more important questions than, do you accept evolution? Do you believe in the Bible? What do you believe about the origins of the universe? Or, how did human life originate? I say better questions than those would be, how do you know? What kinds and quality of evidence do you use to support your beliefs? And how do your beliefs correspond with the relevant available facts, what science would call data? As personal independent beings, we all tend to trust our own experience as providing generally reliable information. However, science, especially scientific psychology, my disciplinary tradition, for example, cognitive science or cognitive psychology, in seeking to escape from its merely philosophical roots to become an empirical scientific discipline, has long argued that subjective experience is unreliable. If valid at all, our subjective awareness applies only to us and cannot be generalized to anyone else. As a process or method, then, science insists that personal subjective experience cannot be trusted, instead favoring publicly verifiable, objective information. During this methodological purification of scientific psychology, good reasons for favoring objective over subjective data and experience certainly existed. For example, hallucinations, dreams, and injustices such as witch hunts, based on an uncritical acceptance of certain biased religious dogmas, demanded a source for epistemological certainty other than personal opinions and perspectives, a knowledge base beyond the confines of subjective experience, one that would be anchored securely within a self-correcting, critically analytical verification community, amenable to continual revision in light of more recent objective public evidence. So, in the following few chapters, I hope to explain how consideration of epistemology informs the various dialectics pertaining to reason and faith, science and religion, logic and emotion. Issues related to how we know what we know pervade perception, cognition, skepticism, analysis, belief, experience, science, and inevitably, whatever conclusions we reach or discard with regard to these topics. Absent our experience of knowledge, life would literally be an empty series of autonomous reflexes, a meaningless void of momentary existence, without a history or future context, free of any synthesizing narrative. In an effort to avoid such a fate, we will examine whether we know, what we know, and how we know. Our interpretation and understanding of the process and contents of knowledge. Although we will certainly explore many philosophical, scientific, and religious ideas, I will attempt to illustrate these conceptual discussions with my own personal history, especially when we get to Chapter 7. My reason for choosing this approach relates to encounters that I've had with grieving parents through many years who have related their disappointment over their children's abandoning their faith and belief in the Bible after earning an advanced degree in science. These parents often conceal resentment with the institutions of higher education that they feel played a role in the development of their children's unbelief. Such children's stories reflect my own journey. Although initially lured into a self-indulgent lifestyle by rock and roll music and other elements of the 60s and 70s counterculture, I eventually constructed an intellectual rationale for my religious skepticism based on science and its commitment to critical examination of conclusions and the nature and quality of evidence that supported or refuted those conclusions. Until recently, I didn't really understand the nature of my gradual transition from faith to unbelief and scientific rationalism. I still may not fully comprehend all the relevant details. Human existence and understanding may be incomplete by definition. But I hope that sharing my journey from faith to skepticism and back to belief in God and His Word can help some highly educated, questioning individuals reclaim a measure of faith, who may currently believe that science offers an intellectually satisfying alternative to the faith in God and the Bible they may have enjoyed as children. Even though I didn't know it at the time, as a child, I constantly engaged in epistemological considerations. I wondered about the origin and nature of clouds, the stars, animals, plants, other planets, the weather, cars, mostly hot rods and their engines, my grandpa's stories about my Native American heritage, 50-foot rattlesnakes, and the many unbelievable feats of strength accomplished by a big African American man who worked with Grandpa at Santa Fe Railroad in Chanute, Kansas. I had an insatiable curiosity and no doubt fit the stereotype of young children who never tire of asking questions. Much too frequently, I asked my biologist uncle, who we'll return to in future sections, which animal could outbrawl every other animal. For example, if a tiger fought a Kodiak grizzly bear, who would win? And yes, I incessantly pressed the question dreaded by every parent and grandparent at one time or another. Why? Why? In the pages that follow, I'm still struggling with that question and searching for its best answers.